And so how did our female Great-tit get on after having her eggs stolen by another bird? Well, that question is going to be answered today, and also we'll be looking at Wendy and how she got on over the past 15 days of nest building. That's right, we are going to go through a mammoth amount of days to catch back up with ourselves. So this is your warning to pause the video, go make yourself a cup of tea, get locked in, get yourself comfy, because we have a lot to go through today. And so back on the tent, Wendy and Willow were busy preparing to build their nest and really get in the swing of things. And Wendy really took her time this year to start getting into stuff. She was bringing in little bits and bobs throughout the day and more keeping tabs on the nest than proper nest building, but there was slow and steady progress made. And we have touched on this in the past as why do female blue tits do this? Why don't they just build their nest straight away? And I've always put it down to that they are trying to line up their hatching of their chicks with the availability of food in springtime. And each bird differs in its approach. Some birds will do it earlier, some will later, and basically the birds that are successful, the genetics get moved on to the next generation, and so over time it gets more finely tuned. And so as a hypothetical with global warming, if birds were to start, or the spring starts arriving earlier as it's predicted in some places, the birds that have a natural code to build their nest early are probably the ones that are going to fare best, and then their genetics are going to be the ones that move on. And how did our female Great-tit? Well, I told you I would answer this. Well, she did not leave the nest within reason after her eggs being stolen. She was definitely sticking around it a lot more, and she continued to lay, but I could not see the eggs anywhere, as she was now really, and I mean really, making sure they were hidden and never venturing too far. If she leaves, she would be back at least within the 20 minutes to keep an eye on it. So her behavior definitely did change from when her eggs were stolen. And so the question at this point was, how many more eggs is she going to lay? So back over to Wendy on the 12th, she was getting more into the swing of things, bit more material coming in, but again, not the big fulls of moss that we would expect to see when she really gets kicking off. And it was really on the 13th she started building very early, and this is usually a sign that things are starting to pick up a little bit and she's going to take it a little bit more seriously. And as the day went on, I did find that there was more material being brought into that nest and lots of nesting shuffles being done. And you guys know by now that basically the birds will keep doing this nesting shuffle while keep bringing in material and compacting that nesting material until there's a beautifully shaped nest cup, just the right size for her. And then she will line that with feathers. And we're going to see that, just that, in this video. And so by the 17th, there is some decent bit of progress made. There's a lot of material in. It's starting to cover the nest floor at the very least. But you can see when she does a nest and shuffle, there's still not near enough material for a nest yet. There needs to be triple, quadruple amount of material in for that. But there's good progress being made. So back to the Great-tit. Well, back on the 15th, we spotted more eggs. She was leaving them uncovered, which generally means she has started incubating, because she never ventures far whatsoever. So she laid 3 eggs, lost 2 of them, and then laid 3 more. So this was supposed to be a clutch of 6 eggs, but we see that this female Great-tit has only opted to lay 3 more eggs and to not fill out the clutch. And you might be wondering, why would she not lay replacement eggs for the ones that she has lost, because 4 eggs is a small clutch for great-tits. And this would come down to how calorie expensive it is to produce an egg. The area that this bird is living in, this habitat, can only probably support her to produce 6 eggs. And so the amount of food and nourishment she can get is actually a limiting factor on how many eggs she can produce. And the fact that she lost 2 of them means our clutch this year for the great-tit is only going to be 4. This hugely increases the chances of the survival rate of that 4 though. But if something goes wrong and all 4 unfortunately die, then her nesting period will have came to a very sad and prompt end. So it's going to be really interesting just to see what happens in this nesting season with her. I am on the edge of my seat how these guys are going to get on. And we can see by the 17th she has pretty much decided to start incubating, which it really started around the 14th and 15th. And incubation generally takes around 10 to 14 days depending on the size of the clutch. So how quickly will 4 eggs take? Well, we can only wait and see for that. So now back to Wendy. And on the 18th, she has started to bring it up a gear. She is really starting to bring in material, and there's a lot of weaving going on with the nesting material once in the nest cup, and a lot of nesting shuffles. And we can see by the 20th that loads of nesting material has been brought in, and we're starting to see the nest cups actually begin to form and where she is deciding to place it. They generally try to place it center back from the nest hole, and that's just essentially to try to keep away from any likely predators. So how is the female great-tit getting on? Well, she's continuing to incubate her eggs, with her tail there just tricking the camera, thinking it was nighttime for a second. But let's just take a moment to appreciate these beautiful speckled packages of potential life. The amniotic egg is a calling card to the reptilian ancestors of the birds. It really is amazing, and the egg itself is just a wonder of evolution. I really am a big fan, if you have not guessed by now. So right back to Wendy, we can see she's brought in some, I dare say, synthetic material. And this always makes me nervous. They do not distinguish the natural material from the synthetic. They just find things that they feel would suit their nest. And she has picked up this ribbon-like substance there. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but yeah, let's hope that doesn't catch her in any way, shape or form as the nesting season continues. You can see her here, it just doesn't act like the natural material. It doesn't fold, it doesn't get manipulated the same, and you can even see her here getting wrapped up as she does her spins and shuffles. And I was very nervous when looking at this, but thankfully she doesn't get tangled today, and let's just hope she continues not to get tangled. And so we now go into the final leg of nest building. The nest cup is slowly but surely being formed, and now all that's left is to cover the bottom of the nest cup, get enough material in there until there's moss material covering the ground. She starts bringing in feathers, which is always a huge landmark. Always love to see that. And we can also see how that synthetic material keeps playing its hand, keeps getting tangled up and just not acting like the rest of the material. She did on the 22nd start roosting in the box, a sure sign that she feels like the nest is slowly, nearly complete, but it isn't there just yet. But I will say on the 22nd, she pretty much gets it nearly complete. She goes into overdrive. She brings in material after material. And by the end of the 22nd, I will say the bottom of the nest cup seems to be covered, which essentially means she can focus on lining it with feathers and making it as soft and as cozy as it can be for her incoming clutch of eggs. And on the 23rd again, she again slept in the nest box. And I was wondering, we would hardly have some eggs already. I thought it was just not there yet, the nest. And sure enough, in the morning at 5 to 6, she gets up and nothing there as of yet, which I was happy because I feel like the nest needs just a little bit more touching up before she can really get the ball rolling. And that's what she spent the day on the 23rd doing, really finalizing that nest until I have to say, I think the nest is complete on the 23rd. Now, they continued to touch up the nest right up until they're well into incubation. They'll always bring in a few feathers and soft material when the eggs are laid. But you can see here, she brings in loads of material, and that nest cup is looking pretty much complete. And she stayed in the nest box on the 23rd, and the question that was ringing out in my head was there going to be an egg? It might have been on Willow's mind as well. You can see him arriving here first thing in the morning, popping his head in at 5:30. Wendy generally only arises at 10 to 6, 5 to 6, so she was having a bit of a lie in there. But I don't believe there is any eggs in there just yet as of the 24th. She was still doing a lot of nesting shuffles, pushing that nest out, refining that nest cup, and it's a little bit of a rough behavior if there was a little egg in there. They're generally a little bit more delicate once the eggs are in there. So we'll keep an eye out for that behavior. So on the 24th, she brought in more material, more softer material, pushing that nest cup out and getting it prepared for the incoming clutch that could quite literally start being laid any day now. And what about our female Great-tit? Well, her eggs are still there. They have not hatched as of yet. So Wendy's eggs are going to be laid any day now, and our female Great-tit's eggs are going to hatch any day now. So be sure to hit that like button and follow along for their journey.